Hello, everyone. Welcome to World Combat Sports. Hopefully, everyone is doing great tonight. You know what it is? Monday. For those of you that are starting off your work week, doing this COVID-19 quarantine, hopefully everybody's doing great. Blessings to you. Hey, once you come into the YouTube or Facebook stream, man, be sure to hit that like button. Totally appreciate it. We're going to kick this off the right way. It's going to be, boxing and mixed martial arts today. I'm going to start off, though, by thanking my supporters. Appreciate everyone who's been tuning in to the channel, World Combat Sports Media, and the donations that have been coming in. You know what I'm saying? I have been, like I said, I've been donating to, certain boxers that's out there that I feel that may not have that money coming in. So, just want to let you know your donations and everything that you've been giving, they haven't been for naught. I've been putting it to good use. I truly appreciate those who actually care to support the channel that way. Just give me a minute. So if you didn't hear, Errol Spence stop through. What's going on, sir? Ken, salute to you, man. Errol Spence did his first interview in a long time. You know what I'm saying? Just like sitting down in front of the camera, relaxing and talking to the general public. As you all know, that Errol Spence did experience could have been near fatal. I mean, it could have been a fatal accident. It was a near fatal. He was ejected from the vehicle and everything. And as fight fans, we was kind of curious to know, if Errol Spence is going to be the same. We're still not sure how he's going to look in the ring, but judging by his, public appearances, him walking around, the way he looks, his physical appearance, aesthetics, or what have you, he seemed to be in a solid recovery state. It was good to see him talking to the fans, though. And, he was typical vintage Errol Spence. Let's get down to it. When Errol Spence was asked, well, first of all, they was talking about Derrick James, mentioning that Errol Spence is punching harder now. Before he had the accident, now he's punching harder than he was before the accident. So, he was asked, what was that attributed to or what have you? And Errol's like, he's more focused and dedicated to the sport. Now, Errol Spence is basically saying he's more dedicated to the sport now. Damn. Like, he came in there and put on a solid performance against Sean Porter. And we saying, damn, that was a good fight. He stayed in the eye of the storm. He stayed, solid, patient. He's the more focused fighter, man, the more technically sound fighter. That's why he was able to catch Sean Porter. But he's saying now he's more dedicated and focused after the accident. So that can only mean one thing. It's going to be very, very interesting at the end of 2020, heading into 2021. If he's hitting harder, that takes nothing away from Errol Spence's heart, because that he has, that's no question about it. Errol Spence has heart, y'all. You cannot deny that. But if he is supposedly punching harder than before, then that's great. He was asked about the fights coming up, of course, because when we heard Errol Spence talk before, he kind of made the assumption that he was showing back around, April, May. Now, of course, COVID-19 is going on right now, so that isn't going to happen. So he said he's going to arrive back on the scene around September, October. That's granting that this quarantine is over with. It provides the boxers enough time to get back in training camp. It sets the promotions up to make a heavy fight card to basically gravitate the fight fans back to the arena. And with that, you need the top tier names. But yet those top tier names need to have enough time to get themselves back in the gym, get back in training. And we're talking about undefeated fighters now. We're talking about Errol Spence is a unified welterweight champion, so he definitely have to have a full camp. And from my understanding, his mandatory Danny Garcia will probably be his next opponent, y'all. I'm kind of split between that. I'm kind of split between that because, like I said before, Danny Garcia faced Sean Porter, had a poor game plan against Sean Porter. And then on the opposite side, I believe Sean Porter had an excellent game plan. An excellent game plan. The way he fought Danny Garcia was absolutely not the way his offensive strategy was against Errol Spence. And it worked out brilliantly. He was able to get the win against Danny Garcia and move on to the unification bout. That's the way it's supposed to be. They fought for the vacant WBC. He went in there and he lost his title to Errol Spence. Now, I just don't see why Danny Garcia can be the mandatory if, Sean Porter, who lost to Errol Spence, who defeated Danny Garcia. Now, Danny Garcia, his style is, I would say, better suited for Errol Spence in a sense. It's going to be less aggression. I think Danny Garcia is going to box more than Sean Porter. That's period. Danny Garcia is going to box more. But Errol Spence, if you look at his opponents, man, if you wait around too long for Errol Spence and allow him to gain, set the pace and gain the momentum and get in your wheelhouse, it's trouble. And Danny Garcia waiting around to land that heavy right hand, I just don't think it's going to do too much against Errol Spence. The only way it may work is that Errol Spence, coming off that accident, he may not be 100%. But also in this interview, he said he's gotten checked out. They say everything is cool with him, and he's set to return to the ring whenever that date is. So that's what we have to look forward to. With Errol Spence, he's just basically been in training, as much as he can in the gym, running when he can, and working with his coach, Derek James. He was asked about certain fighters, of course. The numero uno names, Keith Thurman came up. Hey, Errol Spence really don't have any solid words. And for those of you that follow the sport of boxing, you know why. He was calling out Keith Thurman long before, like when Keith had the belts. He's like, hey, I want to fight. I want to fight. And Keith Thurman never would acknowledge Errol Spence as an opponent that he wanted to fight. He never would give him that respect to say, you know what? I'm gonna give this young lion, the opportunity to step in the ring. He never did it, y'all. You saw on Showtime, you saw every time. You even seen when all the fighters was up there on the panel together. And Errol Spence was basically, letting Keith Thurman know that I want to fight. And Keith Thurman wouldn't give him the green light. He wouldn't give him the AT&T that we was looking for. So, Errol Spence was like, man, I don't respect Keith Thurman, whatever. And then he went to Sean Porter. He said Sean Porter is okay, but like a lot of people who say that about Timothy Bradley, will say probably the same thing with Sean Porter. If you place these guys in a position that they're commentating now in boxing, they cannot just go up there and say all the nice things. Even in this media, even in new media, when you sit up here and you praise and you give adulations to a fighter too much, people tend to say, oh, he's dick riding. He's freaking this, that, and the other. You have to really, you have to go in there and be non-biased. You have to call the good with the bad. So, Errol Spence kind of said that Sean Porter just be talking out the side of his head a little bit. He just be talking some shit. And it takes me back to like what Adrian Broner said about Timothy Bradley. But is what they saying fabricated? Is it something that's pretentious? No, they just, when you're in a position, you're on Fox or whatever network you on, you have to have some grainy type of commentary about people that you may like. You know what I'm saying? You respect them as a fighter, but not everything you're talking about is going to be in agreement with that fighter that you're talking about. They're not going to like it. Some fighters are touchy, man. They're sensitive. So next he was asked about, Danny Garcia. He said Danny Garcia is okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm all right. Danny Garcia say, I'm all right. I mean, Errol Spence, I'm all right with Danny Garcia. He seemed to be a genuine dude. He probably can't put a read on Danny Garcia because Danny is, you know what I'm saying? He's his own dude, man. One thing I can say about Garcia, man, DSG, he's in his own lane, y'all. Like, Danny Garcia stays in his lane, and his name is still relevant. Even though he has some big losses, that if he would have won, it would have just shot his career to a whole nother platform, a whole nother level. But he's still relevant. Danny Garcia is still relevant, y'all. So you got to give him that love. You definitely got to show him that love, man. It would have been good to see him go in there and win against Sean Porter. See him win against the Keith Thurman. It would have, the big names that he stepped in there with, it would have changed his career. Seriously, it would have changed Danny Garcia's career. But he stayed just close enough for him to be where he at right now. And that's being mandatory for Errol Spence. He's about to get another freaking big fight, y'all. If he goes in here and loses against Errol Spence, regardless of whatever performance he put on, it really doesn't matter. Like, a loss is a loss right now for Danny Garcia. That's real talk. Because Mikey Garcia went in there and put up a valiant effort. Didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? It didn't freaking work out. Sean Porter, he was known to go in there and return that lion, that tenacious Wolverine, badger type of tenaciousness. He lost. Not only that, he was knocked down in the 11th round. So they're going to know him for losing against Keith Thurman. You know what I'm saying? Losing against Kell Brook, losing against Errol Spence. That's what they're going to know Sean Porter for. But one thing they can't say about him is that he a bum. He don't put up 150% and go in there and give it his all, right? And then the last name, man, Terrence Crawford. And we was kind of waiting for him to talk about Terrence Crawford. For the hardcore fight fans out there, know that this is the fight we want to see. We want to see Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, y'all. And Errol Spence basically said the money has to be right. Out of all the other fights, Danny Garcia being the mandatory and everything, it's just, the fight is the fight. He was able to make Sean Porter, I guess the purse was heavy enough, But now when it comes to Terrence Crawford, two of the biggest names, in the welterweight division and, in the sport of boxing, right? He says the money has to be right. The numbers have to be right. And I don't think it's just with Errol Spence. I believe Terrence Crawford will feel the same way. You know what I'm saying? Terrence Crawford is definitely feeling the same way. But these two individuals shouldn't really make it about money when the general public needs to see it. And what better time to make this fight happen than post-COVID-19? You go in there, if you face Danny Garcia, cool. But you go in there, you defeat Danny Garcia, right? Just say, hypothetically, right? Next, we don't want to see shit else. We want to see Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford next. We don't want to hear shit. We don't want to talk about the money ain't right, the numbers, all this bullshit. We need to understand that this fight can be made and the time is now. Period. The time is now for them two. The time is absolutely correct for Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford to fight in 2021 because that's what it looks like. I don't think boxing is going to return in May. I'd be surprised if it turned in June, but we can only sit up here and keep our hands together and pray that this COVID-19 quarantine and the decreased numbers of individuals that's being affected digress. What else Errol Spence spoke about? He spoke about his health doing well, his opponents, those individuals, the names that was mentioned. And certain things that he was asked, dealing with his accident, I don't feel I'm going to, elaborate on. But you can check it out. I posted on my YouTube while he was on his IG and everything. But yeah, man, it was good to see Errol Spence back on the scene. I really wish, come point in time that I could speak with him and have an interview. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You know what I'm saying? You just can't sit up here and get an interview with every fighter. But like I always say, some of these fighters feel they don't owe you anything. I agree. Fighters don't owe you anything. But as a courtesy, it would be good to touch bases with some of these fighters during this time right here. They're not in training camp or anything. So once again, I send the invitation out to these fighters, especially Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, and the others that I done sent out. Hit me up, man. Respond to my email, because I am my own PR person, and I would definitely appreciate and be honored to interview you, especially during this downtime that we got. Moving on, and it's not too much to talk about outside of that with boxing. Moving on to UFC 249, man. Now, this is turned into one of those infamous, legendary times in combat sports, man. Because UFC 249 is the only residue of fight cards that's just in the air right now, just like the virus. UFC 249 is just lingering around, man. Lingering around. Like, look, you have even boxing fans that's kind of looking left and right and say, what's this thing? What Dana White trying to do again? Like, why is he trying to make this happen so bad? Just a little bit of history. Tony Ferguson could beat Nurmagomedov was scheduled 4 other times before April 18th. Now that Khabib is out, that makes the 5th time that this has been canceled. The 5th time, y'all. It will go down in the mixed martial arts annals in history. The archives will say these two was canceled 5 times. Now, it's up to Dana White and the powers that be to make this fight happen in the near future, if that's the case. But Khabib is out. Khabib is out, y'all. Now we have Tony Ferguson, Justin, highlight Gaethje. What? I'm liking this, though. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm liking this fight. I'm liking what I'm hearing. Look, I'm liking 2 fighters that headline a card in a blackout that we know we're gonna get the same, if not more intensity than we would if it was an audience, if it was packed with fans. Justin Gaethje, Tony Ferguson, absolutely. But I must inform you, right? Just a little bit of history, right? Tony Ferguson haven't lost since Michael Johnson, and that was 2012, people. That was 2012. Tony Ferguson hasn't lost since 2012, man. And that was Michael Johnson, believe it or not. Yes, the same Michael Johnson that Justin Gaethje finished. You know what I'm saying? Like, Michael Johnson has a common denominator between Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, and Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's all fought them. Michael Johnson's fought them all. Tony Ferguson hasn't lost since 2012 when he fought Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson has since fought Khabib, I believe, in 2015, and Khabib subbed him out in the 3rd round with a Kimura. And then next he fought Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje finished Michael Johnson. And I'm like, how do you finish Michael Johnson with knees and punches? How? Like, Michael Johnson was just starting to get his groove with his hands and his boxing. And I was like, man, he's looking sharp. Justin Gaethje finished this man in, I think, round 1 and round 2. Crazy. Hey, Josh, what's good, man? Salute to you. He said, I'm so hyped. You'll see. He He said Ferguson versus Gaethje is going to be a war, and people still hating. Let's all be happy we are getting some fights. Dana White and the UFC are straight gangsters for making this card work. I can't believe Tony hasn't challenged for a title, and he's only a 13th win streak. This is unbelievable and cursed. I couldn't have said it better, man. This fight right here, if you wanted to be wrapped in the most thick, ominous garb, if you want any type of history, attached to it that deals with bad luck, for a fight of this magnitude to be placed in such a detriment time of a global crisis is UFC 249. And you know what? I think Dana White is kind of driven to that same facet. Dana White is driven. He's driven to stand in the whirlwind. He wants to stand in the such a hardship in this global crisis, the pandemic. He wants to be the one standing and say, you know what? I'm going to give you this moment when we watching 300 and Leonidas said, this is Sparta. I kind of see Dana White taking that stance. He want to be the one to kick everybody else down in the bottomless pit and say, I told you so. I can do this. It hasn't happened yet. It's supposed to be April 18th. But Dana White is out here saying, you know what? I'm immune to this. I've been in the game for quite some time. I've had my hardships. I've faced adversity. Basically trying to tell you, man, I'm a dog at what I do. Y'all thought I was soft. I can be a savage too. I got the money. Now I'm going to earn your respect. That's what Dana White is saying in a sense. He's bucking the system. Dana White is trying his best to keep this fight going, and people are puzzled as to why you would continue to do this and don't lay down when other people are forced to, like other combat sports are forced to lay down. Not because they don't want to. It's the fact that they can't put together something that they don't have a venue to promote it. You know what I'm saying? If they don't have the amount of time to promote the fight, the fighters don't have places to train. You know what I'm saying? You cannot sit up here and make up an itinerary when there's travel restrictions. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's on lockdown, but we still see the WWE putting on WrestleMania in blackout. They made it like it was somewhat of a movie. Now you got Dana White saying, you know what? I can make this shit happen. I can make it happen. I want to make it happen. Now it's going to be without Khabib. But I'm not really feeling some type of way about it because I'm a fan of Justin Gaethje, man. Former World Series of Fighting lightweight champion, undefeated, came over here to the UFC, 17-0. I'm a fan, y'all. Yeah, I'm a fan. If anybody's going to step in here with Tony Ferguson, the man that they pretty much consider the Jason of MMA, the man that enjoys blood. Like if you wanted to put an MMA fighter in the movie Saw, it'd be Tony Ferguson. It'd be Tony Ferguson. Another common opponent that Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje had, Cowboy Cerrone. Tony Ferguson stopped Cowboy Cerrone in round 2. You know, his eye was swelled up and Cowboy blew his nose and it was no way that he was able to see out of it. But guess what? Justin Gaethje stopped Cowboy Cerrone in round 1. It wasn't as fast as Conor McGregor, but he stopped the man in round 1. Another common opponent, y'all. Another common opponent. Look, it gets more interesting from there, y'all. Y'all say if the UFC make this fight for the 6th time, the world will end. This will go down in history books. This event. And Ngannou just announced on his Twitter he's fighting this card. It's getting real good. I heard that too, right? But I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that, Joshua. I'm gonna get to Ngannou possibly fighting Rosenstruck. Rosenstruck. I believe that's going to be his opponent. So Justin Gaethje, he has 2 losses, right? So we all know he came over here undefeated from the World Series of Fighting, lightweight champion. He steps in there, he gets that win out the way, and then he faces none other than Eddie Alvarez, the underground king, been champion in every organization he's been in, right? Justin Gaethje gets stopped. He gets stopped by Eddie Alvarez, which is the perfect style for Justin Gaethje. They pretty much have the same style. I would have thought, no, I wouldn't say that, because Eddie Alvarez doesn't use his wrestling as much. And Justin Gaethje wrestled too. So we pretty much knew they was going to gate one another, right? So he gets stopped by Eddie Alvarez. He steps in against Dustin Poirier, who's been, look, Dustin Poirier has been hoping and wishing to get that big fight to catapult his name to that title shot, right? So he stepped in there against Justin Gaethje, who only has 1. Look, Justin Gaethje was coming off a defeat. Not only that, he was stopped. Not subbed, he was stopped, right? So Dustin Poirier saying, this is an opportune time for me to get my name in the picture. It's my time. I'm on stage right now. I'm ready. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. I thought Dustin Poirier was ready too. You know, he's a good dude. I said, God damn it. If anybody deserves this shit, it's Dustin Poirier. Let's get it. He goes in there and he stops Justin Gaethje. I'm like, what? Like, they was going back and forth. It was a hell of a war. They was basically exchanging, throwing caution to the wind. You know, the momentum started to shift, where Dustin Poirier was a lot more accurate. When you get Justin Gaethje, sometimes he dips his head and he really can't see the punches coming. Dustin Poirier's boxing is much better than Justin Gaethje, period. I'm pretty sure Justin's worked on that, as we've seen in his last fight. But guess what? Against Dustin Poirier, he was still dipping his head, and he was just being reckless, and Poirier made him pay for it. He stopped him. This is where it gets interesting at, right? And I'm going to get to Tony Ferguson, right? But check this out. James Vick come on the scene. James Vick is coming off a 4-fight win streak, I believe. It gets real chippy. You know what I'm saying? It gets light. You know, it goes from light to heavy real quick. It goes from freaking light to dark, rather, real quick between these two. Because James Vick coming here and, you know, he has a loss back then, you know, before he went on his 4-fight win streak. It was a knockout. So he's feeling good about himself. You know, some people are like questioning. Check this out. This is how this fight was so unpredictable. James Vick had lost via knockout, and Justin Gaethje had been stopped back-to-back by Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier. So a lot of people are questioning freaking Justin Gaethje's chin. It don't matter if he was a champion over at the World Series of Fighting. They was questioning, did Justin Gaethje take too much punishment over there? So these two linking up was just right. James Vick and Justin Gaethje linking up just right. So he was talking shit, and James Vick say, you know what? You sit up here slurring your speech. You're a fool. The way you take punishment, you need to change up your style. You know, you're not a smart fighter. You know, and then Justin Gaethje's like, we'll see. You know, I'm gonna knock your ass out too. He said, no. You know, James Vick was confident. The taller fighter, more range to his punches. I just didn't see James Vick being a threat to a fighter like Justin Gaethje as far as power. I just didn't see it. There's no way you would have convinced me that James Vick is going to be a threat to Justin Gaethje pressure. Justin Gaethje was going to turn on the pressure from the opening bell. And that's what I kind of looked at with James Vick knockout. Like I say, is he going to be able to handle the pressure from Justin Gaethje? And Justin Gaethje went in there and clipped him. Downs go James Vick. And the rest is history. That was the perfect time for James Vick to catapult his name to another level. Seriously, if James Vick would have went in there and stopped or even defeated Justin Gaethje, it would have even put him in title contention. It would have put him to the next top ranked opponent close to the interim title or something. It would have. He had the right opponent at the right time. Justin Gaethje coming off 2 losses back to back, not submissions, but stoppages. And Justin goes in there and stopped this dude. Cold. The rest is history. You know what I'm saying? Justin Gaethje, not only did he stop James Vick, but he was coming off a loss, and he returned to the cage in the same year in 2018 to get this stoppage. The same year, y'all. Now he meets Tony Ferguson. Man, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to say someone's getting knocked out. What's the best way I can put this, man? It's 5 rounds. In my heart of hearts, no matter how far I try to look out into the distance, I just don't see this fight going 5 rounds. 5 minutes, 5 rounds. You have 2 individuals in there, man. Unless they come in there with an absolutely different fighting style, I can't see this going past 3 rounds, man. Someone's gonna get cut. Absolutely. The fight may be stopped from a cut. Someone may potentially get stopped from a knockout. I just don't know, man. Tony Ferguson is a knockout artist, though. You know, the beating that he put on Cowboy Cerrone, it's because Cowboy Cerrone was giving him that stationary target. So he was just able to stand in the pocket, just like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor had such a good time, an easy go with Cowboy Cerrone, because Cowboy has basically become this fighter with 14 defeats and just stay right there in the pocket. He's not really mobile anymore. He just stay there and he'll get stopped. But what Justin Gaethje and Tony Ferguson, if you ever want to see what it was like to walk up on a crime scene that was legal, this might be the fight. And more so, these 2 fighting during the COVID-19 quarantine, I think is going to be that more vicious. It's going to be that much more intense. They're going to try to prove a point, especially Justin Gaethje. He's coming out here as a last-minute replacement to Khabib. He's out there to prove to the organization that he's real. I just hope right now that Justin Gaethje doesn't go in there and get stopped early because he didn't have a long enough training camp. I don't know. But with Tony Ferguson, man, he's taking his share of punishment too. Like both of these fighters, when you're talking about the equity of their punishment, yeah, they pretty much balanced out real nice. Like both of these fighters took some punishment in their career. We're talking about 4-ounce glove, people. Tony Ferguson has taken some freaking punishment, and he's up there in age too. So I'm kind of curious to see which fighter is going to show the wear and tear, which fighter is going to degrade first from the punishment. Because God damn it, both of these goddamn fighters do not understand what the R mean. They don't understand what reverse mean. Neither one of them understand what reverse means. They don't understand what reset mean. None of those words that start with an R, reverse, reset, they don't give a damn about that shit. They just come in there to fight. James Vick's chin has gone. There's going to be blood for sure. Tony Ferguson is the Max Holloway. Doesn't have the knockout power, but they destroy you for 5 straight rounds and make you give up. I agree with that when it comes to Max Holloway now. Before he fought, before he lost to Alexander Volkanovski, Volkanovski had the right game plan. But with Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje, right? if you don't have the knockout power, like Tony Ferguson really don't have the knockout power, in my opinion, to really set Justin Gaethje straight early on, unless he catch him with a kick or something. I can't see Tony Ferguson, to be honest, I can't see him taking Justin Gaethje down. I can't see it. But I'm curious to see what's going to happen if Justin Gaethje takes Tony Ferguson down. We're talking about a black belt in BJJ and one of the most lethal strikers off his back that you could ever imagine. It's almost like you got them trying to submit a porcupine. You're going to get some quills one way or the other. When he starts slicing your ass up, you're gonna see blood. It's like landing on a goddamn suitcase of Ginsu knives and shit. That's what you get with Tony Ferguson. He loves to be on his back. He doesn't care, man. The damage that he does to his opponents is one of the most brutal type of actions that you would get from a fighter that's on his back. Tony Ferguson is one of the most unique fighters fighting off his back. Real talk. I'm just curious if Justin Gaethje would even shoot in for a takedown and try to take Tony Ferguson down. I'm just curious, because Justin Gaethje, in my opinion, he's not that type of fighter. He wants to go in there and try to knock out Tony Ferguson. And Tony Ferguson vice versa. I'm just curious to know who's gonna deter from the game plan. You know what I'm saying? Who's gonna be the first one to not retreat, but reevaluate? You know what I'm saying? Reassess what's going on. If the first two rounds are brutal to the point where they both taking punishment, I'm curious to see which one would say, you know what? Let me think about this a little bit. Let me make some changes and let me go back into this war differently. Let me come up with a different fight strategy for round 3. You know, let me just try to switch it up a little bit, because this is going to be brutal, especially if one of them get a bad cut. And if you watch MMA, Tony Ferguson is known to slice his opponents up. It's almost like that dude has freaking blades in his elbows. He has this very dynamic type of elbow strikes that he's able to cut his opponents up with. Justin Gaethje, he just comes in there with a left and right, fully automatic, with unlimited ammo. He's gonna freaking throw punches, and then he's gonna try to chop your ass down if you get close enough to the cage and you stop moving. Justin Gaethje loves to come in with his combinations and throw that chopping low calf kick. You know what I'm saying? He's not really one of those Edson Barbosa high kickers, you know what I'm saying? High flyers, so to speak. He's not going to do a heel kick, a spinning heel kick, or a roundhouse kick. Justin Gaethje is going to throw his combinations and chop that leg down. That's one thing that he has. But what I can see right now, if they're in a firefight in the middle of the cage, Tony Ferguson may indeed try to throw a high kick and catch Justin Gaethje with his head down if he's still doing the same thing he enjoys doing when he's in a firefight. That means throwing combinations, responding heat with heat, fire with fire. And he put his head down and swing for the fences sometime. And if Tony Ferguson is vigilant enough, he can throw that high kick. Joshua, I wonder how long Gaethje has been training for sure. He was at least in training or doing something in the gym before the UFC offered him this fight. Man, I hope so, bro. I really couldn't tell you how long he was training. I know he was putting out some tweets, and you know he was freaking he was out there. He wanted to fight if Khabib wasn't there. A lot of people was like, I was talking to somebody saying, you know, Justin Gaethje wasn't answering the phone. I say, stop it. Stop saying Justin Gaethje wasn't answering the phone, man. Come on. These people, look, these people have teams. They have people that they can get in contact with to get in contact with the fighter. If the fighter's training I'm pretty sure they have the fighter's number. If they can't get in contact with the fighter, they get in contact with the agent, the manager, or whoever else that's a part of that. But just to say Justin Gaethje wasn't picking up the phone, man, come on, that turned out to be a lie anyway, because now Justin Gaethje is scheduled as the headliner if UFC 249 goes down April 18th. So we all know Tony Ferguson last two fights, 2018, 2019, the one he had with Anthony Pettis. I just didn't feel good about Anthony Pettis. I don't know, man. He has been in some fights where he just was broken down, man. They just took his will early. And he tried to make it interesting. He was licking his blood and everything. He was trying to make it wild as possible. But he was in there with the wild man. You know what I'm saying? Tony Ferguson was that dude. And he ended up getting a stoppage against Anthony Pettis. And then to go on to Cowboy Cerrone, he just blitzed. He lit up Cowboy Cerrone. Damn, I was feeling bad for Cowboy. I was like, shit, you getting your ass beat. And his right eye was just swollen. And then all of a sudden, he does this to his nose and blows out his left nostril. He know better than that. He know better. Whether he blew out left or right nostril, he blew, and his eye just ballooned. And he tried to act like he was trying to stick his finger in between so he could see. No, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. They called a doctor in to get him the eye test, and he couldn't see. They stopped the fight. This fight, it may not. I don't know if either one of these fighters, man, aren't smart enough to know the mentality of one another. It comes a time in combat sports, right, that you have to basically respect who you in there with. I'm not saying the fighters don't go in there and respect, but I'm saying if you're a last minute replacement and you know what your fighting style is, what your fighting style consists of, but across from you in the cage or the ring is another person that understands what their fighting style is. And for the longest time now, they haven't switched that shit up. Tony Ferguson haven't switched his style up, and Justin Gaethje haven't switched. They pretty much straightforward pressure fighters, mano a mano, 1 for 1, 2 for 2, whatever you got, I'm going to try to do better. They're known for that mentality, man. And one of them definitely needs to make a change and fight a smarter fight. Seriously, they have to make a change. This is a big fight, man. If it goes down during this COVID-19 crisis, it needs to be worth the value. Because look, Dana White may not care, but he has the opportunity to win over some boxing fans because there's no boxing anywhere. So with this fight looming, you might have boxing fans that have some MMA, some mixed martial arts friends, and they might say, hey, Dana White was able to pull off this fight that's going down April 18th. Come watch it. The boxing fans gonna be like, man, I don't fuck with that MMA, man. Fuck all that. They say, man, it's gonna be good, man. You got Jessica Andrade and Thug Rose Namajunas in the co-main event. And then the boxing fans gonna say, man, females, man, I don't watch that female shit. But both of them was former world champions, though. Then they might say, oh, for real? And, you have to build it up and let them know, man, the card gonna be pretty decent. Like outside of that, you have Francis Ngannou on the card. He doesn't really, get me excited when it comes to fighting, because when he knocked out Alistair Overeem, I'm telling people, I was like, Alistair Overeem has had the Ambien tablet several times. So why are you acting like Francis Ngannou uppercut was something that never did that, like he had never been knocked out before? Alistair Overeem had been knocked out. He had been knocked out. I'm sorry. So when Ngannou did it, I was like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? When he fought Stipe Miocic, I felt that was going to happen. Stipe being a better boxer, better movement, he won the fight, right? So now he steps in there with the fighter who's more so tailor-made. If he's fighting Rosenstruck, right? The same guy who landed that right hand on Alistair Overeem and imploded the left side of his lip, damn near up to the left nostril. This is going to be a good fight. This is going to be a good. Because somebody going to sleep. It's according to who's going to have the better speed. Rosenstruck's supposed to be this guy who people believe that he has that astounding power against another guy who is a heavy hitter that has those heavy hands and pretty much equal power. It's going to come down to who's the toughest, who has better cardio, and whose chin is solid. We're talking about heavyweights. We're talking about heavy hitters, man, the heaviest division there is. We'll see. If it's on the card, that's going to be pretty good. But, Francis Ngannou is not one of my top picks in the heavyweight. I'm like, all right, he's still got some improvement to do. He need to work on his ground game like everybody else that has good hands. You know what I'm saying? Like Derek Lewis, it's good to see him and everything going there to the cage. But when he gets taken down, it's just like, oh, man, somebody let me know when he make it back to his feet, please. Because he don't do anything while he's on his back. Now, granted, he's been working because he hasn't been getting subbed out like that, but that's another day. Josh said, this is a win for Gaethje. He's getting paid for a short notice fight. And a lot of people are expecting Tony to win. And there's no shame losing to Tony. If he wins, he'll be interim champ. And, if Tony wins again, he would be interim champ again. He was interim champ before. You know what I'm saying? So this would be the second time that Tony Ferguson is interim champ, y'all. Tony can't leave his chin out there doing this fight because if Gaethje catches him, it could be good night for Tony. I truly concur with that. It's just who's going to break first? Who between these two tyrants? Because both of them are tyrants, man, when it comes to striking. None of them want to give an inch. None of them want to hit reverse or reset. None of them want to, pop the jab and work the fundamental. It's all out freaking war. It's all out freaking war, man. So, my thing is, who gets hurt? If Tony is able to hurt Justin Gaethje early, it may be a problem for Justin Gaethje because Tony Ferguson will absolutely keep the pressure on. How long is Justin Gaethje trained for this fight? Is he going to try to come out, and pace himself because it's a 5-round fight? Or he's going to go all out and say, you know what? I believe I can go out there and stop Tony Ferguson. I'm just gonna have to put the pedal to it. I'm gonna have to dig deep, buckle up, and see what the results are. I truly think Justin Gaethje, man, he really needs to come out different. Don't come out slow against Tony Ferguson. He needs to go out there and test the waters early. Because Tony Ferguson, what he did at Cowboy Cerrone, he went out there and started fast. Justin Gaethje is going to have to do the same thing. Don't let Tony Ferguson force you to start fast. You want both fighters, like Gaethje want Tony Ferguson to make adjustments early to his pressure and vice versa. You don't want to say, you know what, I want to get through this first round and Tony Ferguson puts that round away and now you playing catch up. You down one round and you took some punishment. You have to come out in the second round hoping that your punishment or your striking is effective enough to catch Tony Ferguson and start, making him wear the fight and get to a point because Tony bleeds. One thing Tony does is bleed and see what happens. I'm curious to see if they're going to try some. Look, one thing I can guarantee you is going to be some clinching in this fight. It's going to be some clinching. And to the detriment, I would say Justin Gaethje stays in that clinch too long. Tony Ferguson may start to, earn some scars, to Justin Gaethje, landing those short, quick elbows on the inside. That's a decision that he's going to have to make, y'all. That's a good point, Josh. Tony is the greatest interim champ of all time. Yeah, man, a lot of people could say that. If you haven't lost since 2012. Look, Tony Ferguson, his last loss was before Ronda Rousey's 135-pound championship fight against Liz Cambouche. That's how long it's been. Ronda Rousey has came in the UFC. Look, he was in the UFC before Ronda Rousey got there. Ronda Rousey comes in, goes on a winning streak, becomes a 135-pound champion, defends it 6 times, and then comes back, and then she's out. Tony Ferguson's still in. He's still in the UFC. Ronda Rousey came in, did what she had to do, and left. Tony Ferguson's still standing. That's just a little bit of tidbit history. But yeah, let's see how this goes, people. UFC 249, if it goes down, it would be in the mixed martial arts annals, the archives. It will hold that fight if it lives up to it, though. This fight has to live up. It has to live up to the adversity. It has to live up to the suspense that's going on outside in the society, in the general public, globally. The fight has to match and has to say, all the people that's tuning in to this fight, they have nothing else to do when it comes to combat sports. They have to gravitate to this mixed martial arts. And if it works out, then Dana White may have succeeded his genius and say, you know what? I brought more mixed martial arts fans for now to tune in to the UFC, to mixed martial arts, Bellator, PFL, all those mixed martial arts venues. You know what I'm saying? So this is the perfect time for Dana White. And if I'm assuming Dana White is probably thinking that way. So this is the opportune time for me to have a fight card. PPV. Hardly anybody is doing anything when it comes to any other combat sports. And they're just waiting around. So why not put on a show and allow fans that we didn't have before this COVID-19 to tune in to mixed martial arts? It's possible, people. You know what I'm saying? It's possible. It's real possible. Joshua says, Tony Ferguson doesn't win the title. He'd go down as arguably the greatest fighter in MMA history to not win a title. Is that, let's see, we got Tony Ferguson. Cowboy Cerrone, he can't go down as the greatest because now he has 14 losses, even though he has experience, right? Michael Bisping was on that lane at one time. Michael Bisping. He ended up winning the title, though. I'm just trying to think of some of the big-time fighters that didn't, that hasn't won a title yet. That's damn good, It's not many out there, man. Yeah, you might be right, man. Tony Ferguson, he would definitely be top 2. He'd definitely be top 2. I don't like to prognosticate the negative side of the slide, but if he doesn't win this match with Justin Gaethje, all the freaking cancellations, it would be put on the shelf when it comes to talking about him and the potential of what could have been, what could be the Nurmagomedov. People will be looking at it like, damn, they waited too long. Just like they said what Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, they waited too long. So when you look at it this way, and Tony Ferguson goes in there and lose, and I'm like, man, they waited too long, man. They should have fought earlier. Justin Gaethje was a bad matchup for him. Listen, people, Khabib is not the same matchup as Justin Gaethje. Khabib uses his head a lot more. He's a much more smarter fighter. Seriously, his top position, his top pressure, his shot is much more lethal because Justin Gaethje don't shoot in. He hardly shoot in at all. But Khabib, his opponents are very weary about getting in too close and over-committing on their punches because Khabib will shoot in. And once Khabib take you down, you're not just checking it, like checking and cashing out and saying, I'm making it back to my feet. No, he's going to keep you down there. He has amazing freaking, the way I'm going to use quarantine his opponent's legs. You know what I'm saying? The way he scoops his opponent's legs and put that body triangle and climb the ladder, all while landing punches and gaining control of both of your arms. It's beautiful to watch. It's magical to watch how Khabib works his opponent, time he sit him down, and then work them to put them on their back. And from there, good luck. You know what I'm saying? I looked at how Alaquinta took the fight on last minute notice, but Khabib couldn't keep him down. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't keep Alaquinta down, though. So it all depends on the style, people. Seriously, it all depends on the style, man. Khabib is one of the best takedown. I would say he has one of the number one concerns, as a fighter, that his opposition will go in there and say, you know what, you need to be concerned about getting in too close on Khabib because he will shoot in on you. I think he's one of those fighters that's at the top of the list, but people will have just a little more caution than they would with anybody else when it comes to Khabib. And Tony Ferguson too. Seriously, I'm pretty sure Khabib would have found some way to isolate Tony Ferguson's right hand so he would not throw those elbows. I'm pretty sure of it. If it wasn't a crucifix, he would have found some type of way. But like I said before, Tony Ferguson is a black belt in BJJ. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still curious as to if he can handle Khabib's top pressure. He's going in there to fight an opponent that's absolutely different, totally different than what Khabib the Nurmagomedov would have been. Josh said, how many PPVs do you think this would do? I'm thinking 500K. That's a huge number for UFC, though. A blackout? I can't agree with you on that, Josh. Only because, man, there's people hurting right now. Did you see the unemployment numbers, man? I don't know if people are really going to take the time to tune into a PPV, mixed martial arts, on fighters that they're unfamiliar with. Now, of course, I talked about boxing fans potentially tuning in, but that doesn't mean they're going to buy the fight. They may go over there and find a friend. They might phone a friend. Hey, man, you getting that UFC fight, man? It ain't shit on TV. And they might say, yeah, I'm getting it. They say, okay, man, I'm going to drop through, man. I'm going to pull up and I'm going to check it out. It ain't shit going on, man. I have to look at something. 500K, though? Man, unemployment is in the millions right now, right? I can't call it, man. I can't say, you know what, it's going to be 500K, all because we in a lockdown right now and there's no boxing. And potentially this fight card will grab the attention of boxing fans to tune in just because it's combat sports. It's hard for me to agree with that. You know what I'm saying? But that's a good analogy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a good bar to set up there. If Dana White is able to do 500K while we're in a global crisis, I think his ego is going to explode, man. I think Dana White, that big goddamn marshmallow head that he has, I think that shit is going to split open. If Dana White, who, you look, if the UFC, who's missing out on like 10, 11 million gate from not having this fight where it was originally scheduled, to come up here and do 500K, oh wait, that'd be epic. That potentially may be legendary, man. Think about it. It may be legendary. If he's able to pull that shit off during a pandemic and allow mixed martial arts fan blended with boxing fans to tune in to this infamous UFC 249 card, it would be huge on a whole nother scale. On a whole nother scale. He said, I don't think this should be on PPV. I think it should be put on. I think it should be put on normal ESPN and could draw major numbers. It's on ESPN Plus, bro. It's going to be on ESPN Plus for sure. But I know what you're talking about as far as, you know, it not being on PPV. But you have to look at it this way. Even though we're looking at the UFC as being an organization that's did fairly well for themselves, purchasing the organization for $2 million and selling it for $4 billion, whether it be assets, stocks, you know, and all this other shit. Still, $4 billion. Come on now. So even with that said, they're not trying to go out here and lose, just be in the red with a fight card like this. When it comes down to it, they still trying to make something, man. 2 roll of quarters, something. They don't want to come out there with a palm full of pennies. Give me 2 roll of quarters or something, man. They trying to make something off this fight. They trying to recoup. Not even a quarter. They trying to recoup something from not having this fight. The gate is freaking closed, and millions that they have lost, you know, with the promoting this fight and everything else. All the fighters that had training camps, I can't imagine how much money was distributed out. But when it comes down to it, man, instead of a handful of pennies, man, you know, just they trying to get something. They trying to get some light money, you know, that light fluffy money, you know, just a little bit. It might not be, you know, stacks of bricks, but at least they get something in return to recoup a little bit. It'll be worth it. Especially at a blackout. You're trying to have a fight card in a blackout? And then, you know, $500K? That'd be legendary. Seriously. You couldn't tell Dana White shit. If he's able to pull this off and $500K numbers, it'll be epic. Y'all just don't understand. If you're able to pull this shit off, mixed martial arts, man, in a blackout with a last minute replacement, with a card, with an undercard that's pretty light. Like the undercard is pretty light, y'all. Seriously, it's a pretty light undercard. I'm talking about with some superstars on there, like seriously, superstars. Like I can see if they was having Amanda Nunes on there defending her title against somebody. It's hard to say who could equal across the cage Amanda Nunes. You know what I'm saying? And then Henry Cejudo. Having Henry Cejudo on the card. You know, even though he's pretty much relinquished the 125 belt, he still was champ. You know what I'm saying? So put him in there with a noticeable name. Jose Aldo. If you would have had Henry Cejudo, Jose Aldo on this card, you know, that shit possibly could have got people to tune in, man. DC versus Stipe Miocic. It would have gathered some numbers too, man. It would have ran the numbers up. Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier, yeah. John Jones versus DC, which I knew it couldn't happen because he's just coming off everything. You know what I'm saying? He's coming off that fight with Dominic Reyes, which a lot of people thought he lost. And then, you know, the DWI and all that shit. But hypothetically, once again, if John Jones was fighting DC, John Jones was fighting Israel Adesanya, Adesanya was moving up. Potentially, with a heavy undercard like that, putting a middleweight champ in there, possibly putting a bantamweight champ in there. The only female side of the house I could say if it was Amanda Nunes, not so much Valentina Shevchenko. You know what I'm saying? So on the male side of the house, Izzy Adesanya moving up, facing John Jones or somebody. Not Paulo Acosta, no, but John Jones, Jose Aldo, Henry Cejudo. Who else could go in there and make some fire spark? Who else? You know, even Tyron Woodley, man. Tyron Woodley, put him in there. You know what I'm saying? Kobe Covington, Tyron Woodley would have did well. People would have tuned in for that shit. Kamaru Usman. Yeah, Kamaru Usman. Jorge Masvidal. Yeah. That shit would have popped off real nice, man. Whatever you do, don't put Ben Askren in there. Hail to the no. I can't sit up here and grab any light heavyweights. I can't do that. And if Francis Ngannou is gonna be the one that faced Rosenstruck, okay, we can take that, people. We can take that. But the heavy hitter in heavyweight, of course, is DC and Stipe Miocic. Period. They would bring some more heat to the barometer of a blackout card. If you want to stack it 5 deep, you got to have some names like that. Not Volkanovski. No, he's just not a popular name right now. Lightweight division, you know, we have 2 of the primary hitters. Josh said Dana will be laughing his way to the bank next weekend. That's for sure. If he's able to pull off, I would say if he does 300, if he's done 300 to 400, that would be something to basically like, damn, you know, you have to shake your head and say, shit, Dana White saw something. Dana White saw something. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I see it. I get it. But 500 is legendary. 500 is legendary. If Dana White is able to pull this shit on a blackout pandemic where all the other combat sports are shut down, and he's able to do it in a sense where the card, as light as it is, still able to pull it off due to the lack of combat sports that's currently being promoted, current inactive combat sports, and he's able to take advantage of it. Genius. William Old School, what's good? What's good, man? Salute. He said, what's good, World Combat Sports? Sorry, I missed your live. Chat's been watching my grandkids for my daughter and son-in-law while they work. Hey, man, that's grown man stuff, man. Respect to you for doing that. Real talk, especially during these times, man. I know they look, bro. I know they looking for some freedom. You know what I'm saying? I know they looking for some freedom. You know, hey, you know, can you keep the grandkids a little bit during this time being cooped up? Man, I know they just want to go out and enjoy themselves, man, and have some time alone. I get it, bro. I get it. I don't have any grandkids, but I get what you're saying, man. Thanks for dropping through, though. Appreciate you stopping through, pulling up, man. Josh say Masvidal versus Usman, Kobe versus Woodley. Look, both of those fights you just mentioned would have been good for this card. But there's no way, really, if it's a lightweight main attraction, for him to have two welterweight fights on the card, unless they had a pretty decent training camp. You know what I'm saying? Because Kamaru Usman had that cast on his arm. And I'm going to be honest, Kamaru Usman, and yeah, he may be the champion, but when it comes down to me saying, you know, I want to see him fight, nah. You know, when he used to say, I'm only going 30%, I felt that. I said, okay, yeah, I believe you. I believe you. He's a boring ass fighter. Like, no, people sit up here and look at what he did to Tyron Woodley. I'm like, he was able to work the clinch better. He was stronger in the clinch and able to get the takedowns. I mean, you're talking about Tyron Woodley that didn't even look the same as we used to seeing him. You know, we might have got the Tyron Woodley in Strikeforce. I don't know what was going on with Tyron Woodley, but he's much more of a beast than what he showed with Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman, man, he's not an exciting fighter to me. I'm not saying he doesn't have talent. I'm not saying he ain't in shape. I'm just saying when it comes to names that pop up, especially champions, I'm like, man, when is this dude going to face somebody that's going to expose him? Because Kobe Covington was touching him up. Kobe Covington had him doing the whoopie doo da for real. You know what I'm saying? Kobe, man. The only thing about him, once again, he doesn't know how to reset and go to plan B. He may not need to go to plan B, right? But it will be a good time for him to use plan B just to switch it up and give his opponent a different look. He stayed giving Kamaru Usman the same look too long. He just wanted to prove a point. All the controversy, all the damn heat and negative energy they gave Kobe for wearing the Magna hat and all that. He wanted to go in there believing he can knock Usman out. Sometimes you just got to be smart. You got to fight intelligently. You got to damn change up the game plan, even though you're not forced to at the time. And Kobe Covington would have did that against Usman. He probably would have had better success, man. Because both of them are wrestlers. You know. I'm gonna look it out. I know I was just waiting for them to do that. Let me go get this card right quick, y'all. Hey, appreciate that, Josh. Appreciate that. Let me go out here and check this card out, peeps. Let me see what's up. Those of you just tuning in to World Combat Sports Media, hey, hit that like button. It's always appreciated, your support. I'm about to pull up this fight card. What has Dana White cooked up on the stove with his $1 million home? Let me see what the heck. This couldn't be it. Is this it? Yeah, it has to be it because I don't see Jeremy Stevens. Yeah, I do. I still see Jeremy Stevens there. Let me see. I want to make sure. Let me see if this is it. So the one thing y'all, if you don't know already, it's still somewhere on planet Earth. We don't really know where the fight card is going to be at, people. That's the dilemma. That's the holdup. They hyping up this card and hyping up this card. That's why Dana White is walking on a tightrope right now over a volcano. Because if this fight doesn't take place with all this hype, man, with no other combat sports, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, man. Seriously. Okay, they talking about a new main event. Hey, where you see this at, man? Where do you see this new card at? Because I don't see it. So let me go to y'all bear with me. So, okay, yeah, Francis Ngannou is fighting Rosenstruck. If that's how you pronounce his name, forgive me for that. So let me see if they have it on here. I'm looking for the full card. I don't even see it, bro. I don't see it. Even on MMA Junkie, I don't see it. It's on the official UFC Instagram. It should be on Twitter. Okay. So let me look on Twitter right quick. Let me check it out. So see what we're talking about right here. Let me see what it looked like. Okay. Shout out to Josh Talks UFC, man. Appreciate the info, being that I'm on the live stream right now. So the new card, I will go as deep as the popularity takes me. Because if I go down and look at this, start talking about this card, we may be on here till 1 o'clock. And then if the shit don't happen, it's going to be like all for nothing. Like, at least we talked about a card that never took place. But I'm looking at 11. 11 undercard? 11 fights on the undercard doing a blackout? Oh, he's trying to stunt. Dana White trying to stunt, man. Real talk. He's trying to stunt. Even with the quantity being the way it is, the quality is, it's okay. It's all right. But goddamn it, 11 fights on a blackout card. If this goes down, man, it's going to be crazy. Let me get to it. Co-main event, Jessica Andrade and Thug Rose Namajunas, both former strawweight champions. If you remember, Thug Rose Namajunas defeated Joanna Jędrzejczyk, then remaster, went 5 rounds, won via unanimous decision, then stepped in there and fought Jessica Andrade, got, unfortunately spiked on her head, knocked out. Jessica Andrade took the title, went in there against Weili Zhang, stopped in the first round, man, didn't even defend her title. The bragging rights here is Thug Rose, you know what I'm saying? Jessica Andrade, both freaking former strawweight champions, but Thug Rose was able to defend her title, though. They're going to be a co-main event. Hardy versus De Castro. Heavyweight. Luke versus Price. Now, that's going to be pretty good. At welterweight. That's going to be pretty good, man. That's going to be a pretty good fight, man. That's hard to predict, man. Nico Price is on like a roll right now, man. Stevens versus Qatar. Featherweight bout. Jeremy Stevens, he always bring it, but it was kind of weird with him going out the way he did in his last fight. I was kind of saying to myself, like, what's going on with Jeremy Stevens? Like, it was a time that the Heathen, if he was stepping in there with most people, I would say, okay, cool. When he basically called out Conor, I was saying that would be a damn good fight. I think he'd be competitive. Then looking on his bout, I was like, he pulled out of that one fight. He said he got poked in the eye. Then he came back and he ended up being stopped with a body punch. But still, he goes in there to bang. Ngannou, Rosenstruck, we talked about that. I think this fight right here should have been higher. on the ladder. I'm not sure they have them in order for which they're going to be on the card, but Ngannou and Rozenstruik definitely I would have put right beneath Andrade and Namajunas. 2. Hall versus Jacare. I would have put them right behind Ngannou and Rozenstruik. Hall versus Jacare? What? Damn, they got them on the card, man. That's going to be real nice. Hernandez versus Morales is going to be a solid bout. Vera versus Borg. You know, one thing I can say about them two, they should be moved up. I'm not. Oh shit! I don't know why they so far at the bottom, but once again, this may not be the order for which they're gonna fight. But it's a pretty solid fight, man. Vera and Borg. Like I said, I can't go into each fight, man. It'll take forever to itemize and break down these fights. It's just not gonna happen tonight. Lightweight bout, 155, Johnson and Worthy. That should be pretty good, man. Women's bantamweight bout. Okay. Mirage against Eubanks. It's been a while since we've seen Eubanks in the cage. Damn, she should be all refreshed. You know what I'm saying? She should be all refreshed. I'm curious to see how she looks. She's a very tough fighter, man. And then you have Spann versus Alvey. Smiling Sam Alvey. That is going to be, that potentially may be a sleeper. Because Alvey's very tough, but I think he's learning that the weight class to which he fights, he needs to be a lot more intelligent about his offensive strategy. Because he's not a guy that has this crazy amount of power. Spann, he can get caught damn being complacent too much sometimes. Like, dude has mad talent. He does. He has mad talent, man. Sometimes he just don't put forth enough effort, you know, to keep his opponent guessing. I used to watch Spann when he was in the neighboring organization before he even came over to the UFC. He's an interesting fighter, man. He's still trying to find his way, you know. His cardio is okay. It's going to be interesting, him and Alvey, man. It's going to be interesting. This is not a bad card. It's not extremely star-studded. I mean, to the people who don't know him, because there's a lot of people who's not going to know these fighters. But to the hardcore MMA fans, you know, I know everybody on this freaking card. But to the general public, they don't really know this. They're not really going to look at this card and say, man, should I pay for it or not? I'm telling you right now, you should pay for this card. This is a PPV card. Especially in a blackout like this, this is a PPV card. Pay for the card. It's going to be some knockouts. It's going to be some wars. If you've never seen even Andrade and Namajunas, man, that shit is going to be fire. Ngannou and Rozenstruik, somebody's going to feel different early. Somebody's going to get those hands early on the chin. I'm curious to see if Ngannou can stand the power of Rozenstruik, if Rozenstruik's power is serious, if it's legit, if he's a legit punching, hard-hitting puncher, you know, a knockout artist. I'm trying to see if he's legit. But one thing about Ngannou, he can hit, man. He can bang. Uriah Hall, man. Luke and Price, that's going to be another one. That's going to be another good fight. And like I said, Eubanks and Mirage, she's been out for a while. It's a PPV card, man. Pay for it. Appreciate that, Josh. Appreciate the info, man. It is a very solid card. Hey, William, man, salute to you, man. Thanks for dropping through. Real talk. Enjoy those damn grandkids, man. Enjoy the loved ones for real. He said, I'm going to eat. I got to get up. My little monsters will be back early in the morning. That's what's up, man. Always appreciate your support, man. But yeah, hey, salute to you, Josh. Thanks for the damn heads up on that card, man. For those of you that tuned in and just found out about the card, the UFC 249 fight card, Ferguson versus Gaethje, is going to be the headliner. The location at this point in time, hold on for a second. The location at this point in time is undetermined. They're still trying to find a location. The fight card itself isn't till the April 18th. So there's still time. But what I'm saying to you all who's tuning in, who may be boxing fans, if you have a friend who is a mixed martial arts fan or whatever, man, tune into this fight. It's going to be pretty interesting. It's a solid card. Some solid names on there. And I'm not lying to you. You would definitely be entertained. I'm not going to lie. It's an entertaining card, man. Real talk. It's an entertaining card. Now, all we have to do is keep our well wishes and believe that somehow, some way, Dana White would pilot this to a location that we can watch this fight during the blackout. That's the only thing we can guess right now. You know, that we can assume that he has control of. You know, I'm pretty sure he has the coordinates already to the location. You know, it's just all about him getting the confirmation, because we heard what happened in Vegas. Nevada State Athletic Commission shut down fights from being over there. They ain't playing around. The strip is dark on Vegas. Can you imagine how much money is being lost in Vegas right now, y'all? Can you imagine? We can't imagine unless you got a business there. But appreciate the info, man. I appreciate that, man. This is a solid card, man. I hope it pops off so I can do a live commentary on it. I'm just sending this out right quick, y'all. Let me switch this up a little bit. Nope. Okay. So hopefully there's more people to talk about this fight card, man, that doesn't really cover mixed martial arts. You should. Indian Reserve. Hey, it could be an Indian Reserve. You know, they have their own rules and regulations over there, Josh. You know what I'm saying? The Indians do what the hell they want to do, man. You know what I'm saying? So I can't really put that out there yet. But I appreciate you dropping it though. I have to let me see. Is it even out yet? Because if Dana White haven't released, I really don't want to tell people it's going to be on the Indian Reserve, but that makes all the sense in the world because the Indian Reserve, they follow their own little, own regulations and everything, Let me see if it's leaked out here yet. It's still saying undisclosed location out here, Undisclosed. It's almost finalized. So if it's freaking indeed on the Indian reservation, that's good. I'm not sure how much they paying the Indians. Look, you just don't walk up on the Indians and think it's going to be a free ride. Hey, you got to go through the freaking protocol and chain of command over there. Dana White may have all the money. He's going to have to come off a lot of that to host a card on the Indian reservation. Real. They ain't playing that just kick open the door. And no, they have different rules on those reservations. Man, you wouldn't believe that's a whole different live. Indian reservations have whole different setup, whole different rules. So just to think of hearing that, if it is true, I can see it. And it's once again, that would be genius for Dana White to be able to accomplish that. Seriously. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does too. He said Dana White definitely has a location. He's had locations for quite some time now. But, everybody was shutting him down. So if indeed he's able to go to this Indian Reserve and make it happen, once again, it would be a legendary fight card that unfortunately, I wish Khabib would have been on it. Seriously, I wish Khabib would have been on this card, man. Damn. This might be one of the most legendary cards, that Khabib wish he would have been on as the champion. Seriously. It's something about this card. Either it's going to light up the sky, or else it's just going to get darker. You know what I'm saying? These fighters, some of these fighters on here, I know for a fact, they need a crowd. They need the extra motivation from outside the cage to boost them up. We know for a fact. And some of them, like we know, the main event, we know they don't need it. The co-main event, Andrade and Namajunas, they don't need the crowd. Well, I don't know. Namajunas might, though. Namajunas might. Yeah. These fighters are going to be making money. They're sweet money. Yeah, man. The bag should be pretty good for this fight, man. Seriously, the bag should be pretty good. If this fight card happens, I'm going to be happy. This card has so much controversy. It's going to be legendary. Yeah, man. The card that was able to be pulled off by Dana White of all people, who isn't afraid to go against the grain, and apparently he isn't trying to give up on bringing in new mixed martial arts fans, new MMA fans to the genre of combat sports that is mixed martial arts. That's what Dana's trying to do. And this is the perfect time to do that, because boxing fans are going to be forced to tune into something just for entertainment, because there's absolutely nothing that's going on right now that's popping that they say, you know what, I ain't going to fuck with that MMA right now. And you're going to have to tune into it because it ain't shit else popping. It ain't nothing going on. No boxing except reruns, YouTube, all that shit. But yeah, that's damn good news, man. Dundada is in the building. What is good, man? Salute to you, bruh. This has been a boxing and MMA presentation. I got some good word, man. Once again, give a shout out to Josh Talks UFC, man, for letting me know that the fight card has officially been made. I'll try not to go over here mongering around, frolicking looking at freaking different tabs while I'm on, unless it deals with, certain incidents or whatever that I want to talk about with articles, referencing articles and everything. All the, a lot of the higher old media, all they doing is talking about old fights. They still talking about potential Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. Just talking about, they had Errol Spence today. He was talking with the media. But besides that, it's all classic stuff. Josh said these are the types of moves that you have to make as a promotion to get bigger. To get bigger, bad controversy can be turned into a lot of money and a lot of new fans. Yeah, especially in this time, because it's gonna hurt, man. When you have millions that's filing for unemployment right now, Josh. Yeah, that line up exactly. It can be one of the most genius moves that will be talked about for years to come, if by chance he's able to pull this off and set the bar with the PPV numbers during a blackout. It will be legendary, absolutely, for sure. And the card itself will be legendary because they was able to pull it off. If these fighters come in here and perform the way we assume they will, without a crowd, without an audience, they would be a special collective group on that UFC 249 card that will have a piece of history for their own. You know what I'm saying? For their own legacy. It's true. As long as all these fighters are getting paid and tested and everyone is safe, I'm happy for this card to be to happen. Testing. I don't know about that. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I don't know, man. To make this card happen, I don't know. I don't know if USADA was hitting all the wickets. I don't know, man. I just think, hey, we need to make this card happen. And you all just make sure you get some training in. Stay injury free. We don't need cards. We don't need no fight on the card dropping out. We need to keep all these, all 11 undercards. I don't know, man. They can say USADA it was active. I'm not saying it wasn't. But all I'm saying is this is one of those desperate times, calls for desperate measures. And I don't think USADA was up there on the doorstep saying, hey, give me the cup. I'm here for the cup, Shawty. Shawty, give me that cup, Shawty. Yeah, you too. Come bring that piss over here. A, B, Alpha, Bravo. Yep. I don't think it's popping like that, man. This could be one of the most legendary cards ever, or this could be one of the biggest disasters and disappointments ever. I don't know. Look, I don't know if it can be a disaster, bro, with what is going on. Because look, the names that's on there, these are like some of the perfect names they have on this list in the lineup. You know what I'm saying? These are some of the names you would want, man. Now, if you had Cowboy Cerrone on here, I'll be like, man, no. He's been stopped his last 3 fights, I believe. No. But the names that you got on here, yeah. Yeah, you got some solid names on here, man. Yeah, they got some solid matchups. I don't think it's going to be a disaster. I don't see it. And even with disaster, say for instance, first round knockouts, it potentially may be 1 or 2 fights on here, might 3, that can go out in the first round. We don't know. We don't know how in shape these guys are, or girls, or whatever. But yeah, we'll see, man. I know what you're saying though. Don Dollar say after EJ and Keith spoke. Is Bud Crawford any closer to a bigger fight. Well, he said today the money has to be right. So being that Danny Garcia is mandatory upon his return September, October, we may not see him and Terrence Crawford in 2021. You know, that's what I'm assuming with EJ, man. And for Keith Thurman, you know, he didn't have positive words for Keith Thurman. So I don't think they're going to fight anytime soon. But more so, Danny Garcia is his mandatory. Yeah, we'll probably see him on the return fight Danny Garcia. Good question, though, man. Josh said, I thought we could get 5 or 6 good fights in the undercard, but didn't expect 11 fights. And was talking about if this card didn't happen, that would be a disappointment and disaster. Oh, yeah. But, you know, if you're right about the Indian Reserve, being that, you know, it's going down April 18th, man, that's a good loophole right there to finagle, you know, because Indian Reserves are on their own program. They on the different rules, man. So we really hope this fight happens. And if by chance they're able to go to an Indian Reserve, able to get them some revenue also, you know, set it up real nice and have those fighters come over there and to work out, good. But the crazy thing about it, if you have it on the Indian Reserve, the Indians that's there, they can't even come and view the fight. I mean, if they set it up for them to get free PPV, cool. But they can't even go in the arena and watch the fight. Because of you know, like I know they're on the different rules, but I'm pretty sure they just can't, just because they're on the reserve, they can say, okay, we're gonna have all the Indians that's on the reservation come in and watch the fight, and it'd be like over 100 or whatever the case may be. I think that may still be in effect. I don't know. I'd be bullshitting y'all if I sat up here and told you I know what the law was when it comes to Indian reserves in this particular case. But 5 or 6 good fights, man, to get 11. Still, you got 5, 6 really solid fights on there. You do. You got real good 6 solid fights on there. But now all we need is for this to actually happen. Man, forget the ring girls. Like if they're heading into there, right? Obviously, I'm going to make an assumption here, because Dana White initially said they could not put on a card here in the U.S. when they did their last card in Brazil, with just 10 people, right? So then they knocked it down. Okay, you can't have more than this amount of people. So on the Indian Reserve, the gathering numbers has to be much higher than 10 if they're going in there and putting on this card. If that is indeed where they plan on having this card, it's going to have to be a different gathering number of more than 10 people. That is fact. It's no way they're going to be able to put on this card and you're going to only have 10 people in there. And for those of you tuning in, you know, Indian Reserve have their own little rules, man, they go by. Especially in California, man, believe me. April 18th, I would be surprised. Yeah, we all surprised they're done daughter, but if it's in fact on the Indian Reserve, man, whatever, you know, loopholes that Dana White was able to take advantage of, it may indeed happen, man. The Indians be making all that money, that's for sure. Yeah, man. And I wonder how the weigh-ins will work. Will they live stream them online or something? Let's hope everyone makes weight. Look, everyone's going to make weight, man. We can assume, Josh, that if they go through all this trouble, there's going to be some people that's overweight. Man, they're going to make weight. They may just have a ceremonial weigh-in. Yeah, they may just have a ceremonial weigh-in. They may not have the official and make this all freaking by the book when you have all these fighters that's on there that wasn't training for this card. You can't tell me every fighter that's on this card was training with all the damn gyms shutting down and everything. I don't know all these fighters actually had a solid camp. But the card looks great. The cards look great. I know Jessica Andrade is in Vegas right now training. Good question, though, man. I'm about to say Dana the next Don King with 11 fights. Yeah, man, Dana White trying to set the precedence, man. He's trying to do something that can't be done in the dark. You know what I'm saying? If you can't fight in the light, fight in the shade. Y'all saying, let's hope the UFC give the fighter some extra time to lose weight so everyone makes weight. We need those fights. Man, I can only assume if they're going through all this extreme, these fighters are going to make weight. He needs as many fights as possible. Many fights as possible. If these fighters are sacrificing to come in at the last minute, absent of a full training camp, then Dana White need to make, some, he need to look out for him. He need to accommodate his fighters, bro. You know what I'm saying? He need to show some love because these fighters are stepping up, and potentially some of these fighters might take a L when they don't need to take a L. You know what I'm saying? Justin Gaethje ain't trying to take a L right now, but you can't convince me that Justin Gaethje was in a gym hard, knowing that Khabib was the main event. It wasn't like he was training to be the backup. Nah. But we'll see, man. How many female matches? From what I've seen on there, is 2. It's the co-main event, Jessica Andrade and Thug Rose Namajunas, and then you have Eubanks versus Moraes. Josh said, do you think Dana White would be there? He always there for pay-per-views. Imagine if he's the only person in the crowd that would be legendary. Well, it's like impossible for Dana White to be the only one in the crowd. If they're gonna venture into an arena, which they can have more, an increased number of gathering, of course Dana White's gonna have his staff there. So it's no way that he's going to be there doing all that work on his own. Like, he has people obviously in the rotation that's in positions to work and make shit pop. So I'm pretty sure Dana White's going to be there. I'm pretty sure his staff going to be there. And I can assume that they're not going to just be 10 people on deck that's allowed in the building. See, Indian Reservation, they just don't have fights like this. They just don't. Man, I can't imagine who they had to speak to kind of get the good graces of the big dog that's on the reservation. I can imagine, because you just don't walk on an Indian reservation and think, just because you're the UFC and you're Dana White, you're going to make all the rules. That shit does not work that way on the reservation. Believe that. M. Greg, 1964, man. Shout out to you. Salute, man. Thanks for dropping in. Sir Ken's back in the building. Josh said, I heard Belarus with a backup plan if they can't get this event in America because still have sports events up and running. Man, I don't know, man. It's if you're thinking about that, it's all about travel, man. Right now, a lot of these fighters are in California, man. To make it to California is pretty convenient. But I don't know too much about that area, man. To be honest, I don't know too much about it. I couldn't tell you about it, people. But the good news is that UFC 249 fight card is now official. It will indeed be at a location somewhere inside the stratosphere of planet Earth. So if indeed it is on an Indian reservation, that's going to be very interesting. But I can almost assure you that the UFC is not marching up in there making their own rules. I can guarantee that. They're not making their own rules on the reservation. If they're able to pull this off, and of course, I can once again only assume that the numbers for the gathering is much higher than 10. because these people operate on their own set of laws. A lot of laws that are state doesn't pertain to the Indian reservations. I'm not saying they just get away with murder, but hey, they do some shit that they get away with. He said, I'm just happy, something to look forward to. Dana White and the UFC are legendary, and the Indians are legendary. They let this happen. And one thing about it, Dana White would be legendary for sure, but the Indians, you're not going to hear too much about that. No, you're not gonna, unless Dana White saying, we want to give thanks to so and so and give a shout out to the head chief who's in charge of that particular reservation, whoever it is. Cool. It allows them in their community, because no one's going to know who that person is. Those Indians are pretty secluded group of people. Seriously, they operate off their own rules. Believe me when I tell you that. But Dana White, yeah, Dana White. If he's able to do solid numbers, put on a fight card that's just that ends up in the damn up in the skyline, people tune into the PPV. They have good things to say about it on social media. The fights turn out to be great, entertaining, and everything else. This will be a legendary card, people. This will be history making. This will be a epoch in time where when it comes down 5, 6 years, even 10 years from now, they will always look back on this pandemic and us being in a global crisis to say Dana White, of all people, was able to pull this off. Even when he was being criticized, vilified, excoriated, denigrated, and everything else that goes along with it, Dana White was able to pull this off and say, you know what? Catch both middle fingers, however you choose to. I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. And, when you got money like Dana White and you're in the position, the president of the UFC, then guess what? You can make those moves like that. He says, so you think there will be Indians in the crowd? I'm not sure, man. I can't really make that assumption. I don't know the whole the POA, the plan of attack for Dana White. I can't tell you if the Indians is going to be allowed in there for that. I don't know, man. That's something I can't say. But if by chance it is, I'm going to tell you, man, if you thought Brazil was bad, the good thing is that a lot of Indians don't have an attachment like that. I'm not saying all of them don't, but the majority doesn't have an attachment to MMA. So it's not like if one of their favorite fighters lose, they're gonna tear the place up. It ain't gonna be that way. I believe it's gonna be order, and whatever Dana White is able to allow happen. If he's able to allow Indians to come in there and watch the fight, they're gonna drink. And they're gonna provide any type of level of entertainment and cheering and support as they can, because it's gonna be big for them just to have such an epic event on their reservation. Anyway, that shit is epic. If this shit is able to be successful on that reservation during this global crisis, man, and even though when it comes down to the Indians, and them might have been, in some sort of hardship, whatever the case, for them to get that money to the reservation, it's a win-win situation for them, y'all. It's a win-win situation, y'all. Real talk. But I don't know, Jeff. I don't know, man. Dana White and the Indians never thought I would see that. Yeah, that just goes to show you how Dana White is constantly driving, man, shifting gears. That's why he's in the position. He's a thinking man, decision maker. To be a decision maker, you got to come up with ideas. And when the doors and windows start to close, you got to find another alternative or avenue to make that shit happen. And that's why he's in the position he's in, man. It's not all about the money. And, you got to be persistent in some of these cases too, He said, will the UFC have to build an arena or is there an arena out there? I'm not really familiar with the Indian Reserve and how it all works out. This is how it's going to work. I'm pretty sure they have some type of facilities out there. There's no way they're going to build an arena in this short period of time. That's more money and expenses out of the UFC's pocket. Like you just mentioned, Dana White planned this out. They did a site survey. They did all the measurements, and they got the amount of feet that it take and all this. Believe me, the only thing that's probably going to be built is the cage. I'm pretty sure the Indian Reserve have a building that's big enough to put a cage up in there. Being it's a blackout, it doesn't require a huge fan base to be on deck. The gate, they can have it anywhere that's large enough for a cage, you know. So the one thing is the cage is going to be built. Yeah, that's nothing. But for them to actually build a facility, arena, you know, any type of makeshift place for these fighters, no, that's too much money. That's too much. That's too much in such a short period of time. That's too much, man. It's a good thought, though. You know, it's a good thought, man. If they build an arena in this short period of time, man, it will cost them so much money. People are working in a pandemic. We have to understand that. And for you to get people to work outside, being that the Indians, you know, they have their way of thinking about viruses and all that, you have to pay them a shitload of money to risk their lives and stuff like that. Oh, yeah. Sir Ken, what's good? We just need an octagon, some cameras, and then we have an event. If the pandemic wasn't going on, man, I'm pretty sure this should be outside. You know what I'm saying? They have this card outside, man. If this pandemic wasn't taking place. But they have to have it inside. They have to make sure everybody is checked. You know, they can't have people coming in there that's infected. You know, people have to be medically cleared. It's going to be extensive, man. It's going to be extensive. They're going to have to make sure the tests come back correct. You know, even from the fighters got to come in there cleared. They have to get cleared, not from just, you know, drug tests and everything. They have to make sure they medically cleared, period. So outside of their normal testing, they're going to have to get tested for COVID-19. I'm pretty sure they have already. And since this card is made official, I'm almost guaranteeing that these fighters have been tested. None of them have it. And Dana White have them in a location to keep them solid until they make the travels over there. I'm pretty sure of that. Sir Ken said there are many casinos on Indian land, so there are places to have it. Yeah, the one thing the Indians have over there are casinos. You're right about that. You're right about that. They have a lot of casinos, man. I want my native people to get their bread. Where was wrestling held on 2 nights? The wrestling, for some crazy reason, Vince McMahon, you know, he held. They filmed that in March. Okay, they filmed WrestleMania in March. It was a 2-day event. They filmed that, but wrestling has been taking place at the training center, the WWE training center. And if you look at it, they only have the wrestlers on deck and they have some announcers. It's dead up in there. It's pretty dead up in there for them wrestlers to go in there and still perform. It's pretty dead, y'all. But that's Vince McMahon and the crew, man. Triple H, all of them. They was basically putting on wrestling shows at their training facility. And don't ask me, with all these training facilities that the UFC have globally, why they couldn't make that happen. And I can tell you one reason is probably that the laws pertain to them too, and shutting down the gym, okay, and all that. So somehow, some way, World Wrestling Entertainment, those wrestlers being as choreographed, they really didn't have to probably do too much. You know what I'm saying? Because wrestling entertainment is choreography. So it wasn't like they had to be in a training camp. They can just go in there and perform, make sure they do all the moves right, do the storyline, and they straight. As in mixed martial arts, no, you have to put your ass in the goddamn training camp. You have to get your shit cardio right, you know what I'm saying, and go to work and get ready to go in there and perform. That's real talk. But I hear you, Dundada. You know, make sure they get their bread, man. If they allow the UFC to come in there and, you know, go into one of those casinos, that's even better because, you know, casinos, they have ample room. The casino will make room. They have freaking, what you call it? They have people coming in there doing entertainment all the time. So they have venues to put on concerts and all that. It would have been cool if we got another title fight on the card, like Usman versus Masvidal. But I'm still happy with the card, and I don't think Usman Masvidal will like that on short notice. Usman, he wouldn't have liked it, but Jorge, he would have did it. Jorge would have did it. Colby Covington, I believe he would have did it. He would have stepped up because he's coming off a loss. He would have did it. So the only person when it comes to the championship strap, though, Usman's not that guy, man. Usman, man, he's like one of those. I don't know, man. That guy. He always talking about he want to give credit where credit's due, and then he's turning around and you know, criticizing his opposition all the time and his compeers in the division. And people get tired of that shit, man. If Dana White would say, "Hey, Kamar, you want to do last night? I'm not in shape." You know, just like, look, when you got a champion that say he walked into a doctor's office and he came out with a cast on, they said, "What's the cast about?" He said, "I don't know. I just came out with a cast." Man, that dude, no. Let's get Tyrone Woodley back or something. You know, let's get Jorge Masvidal somehow to fight for an interim. But Kamaru Usman fighting on the card like this last minute, it ain't happening, people. It ain't happening. Real talk. It's just not happening. I was really hoping for Colby Covington versus Tyrone Woodley on this card, and yeah, I agree. Usman is just a boring champion. Yeah, he's a boring individual, period, man. You know, not to take anything away from him being a family man or what have you. I'm just saying, being in the position he is now, a champion, he just doesn't pique my interest of excitement. Somebody I just want to tune into and say, yeah, I can't wait till Kamaru Usman get back in the cage. I'm not doing that. Like when Tyron Woodley was on deck, I was saying, okay, Robbie Lawler, I said, okay, I'm waiting on that. When Tyron Woodley smashed Robbie Lawler in one round, I was looking forward to see Stephen Wonderboy Thompson because he had that style. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, shit, it's a step up. Let's go. And then they went twice. Wonderboy couldn't get it done. He fell off. And then he stepped in there with Darren Till, one of the most boringest welterweight matches ever. Darren Till and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. One of the most boringest bouts ever. Not only just in welterweight, but in the UFC period. Top three. But then Tyrone turned around. He faced Damian Maia, BJJ, former BJJ world champion. He negated all those takedowns. The fight was somewhat, people want to look at it as not being the most entertaining fight, but they have to look at what Tyrone was up in there against. You know, how detrimental the top game would have been if Damian Maia would have been able to control and get Tyrone down like Kamaru Usman was able to. You know what I'm saying? Could you even fathom that what Tyrone Woodley, the predicament he would have been in if Damian Maia would have took him down like Usman and worked for the sub? It would have been all bad, y'all. It would have been all bad for Woodley. He's not named the backpack for nothing. It would have been all bad, y'all. It would have been no riding time and, just sitting up here stalling out, taking them down and not doing too much, the work for a submission and just throw punches. No, Damian Maia would have worked for a sub. Kobe got the hype around that fight because everyone was hating on him and wanted to see him smash if Usman fought someone like Gilbert Burns in the main event or something like that. Man, he wouldn't even take that fight. He would have to have a full training camp. The weather would have to be perfect outside. The pandemic would have had to be 4 or 5 years removed for him to step in there with somebody like Gilbert Burns right now. No, he wouldn't even do it, man. He's not that dude. Seriously, he's not. He's not, man. He wouldn't even give us the pleasure of seeing him step up like that. No. He would rather wait, He said, I'll have to wait. I have to make sure COVID-19 is all the way clear. The temperature outside is great. I have to make sure I have like a 12-week training camp. I have to make sure I'm in perfect. I had the cast on, Yeah, I had to make sure my hand is. Man, come on, Usman make up so many freaking excuses, y'all. Real talk, man. He said, I'm a Kobe fan. I'm not trying to be a fanboy, but there's something about Usman that I just don't like. I don't know. He used to say 30%. I say, yeah, you are going 30%, man. You're right. I'm still waiting for you to give us 35. Well, in Tyron Woodley's fight, he did give us much more than 30%. I will. He dominated Tyron Woodley. Real talk. But besides that, him being an entertaining fighter, I don't see it, y'all. He still got a ways to go before the fans tune in and say, Dana, let's get Kamaru Usman in there. The only person that will bring a different side out of Kamaru Usman again would be Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal. You need somebody in there like Tyron Woodley. It wasn't too much trash talking leading up. Like, it wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like that Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. And then I even think that Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal would have been even more lit. Because I'm going to tell you, Kamaru Usman can't trash talk. Hell no. That one thing he cannot do. He cannot trash talk, y'all. So he needs to be in there with an opponent that's able to promote the fight. Colby Covington promoted the fight because he already had that, controversy behind him. People hated him. What he was doing, when the president taking the belt to the White House and all that. He brought that momentum. He sold the fight. Now you look at Jorge Masvidal. He has his brand already. The 5-second knee that he landed on Ben Askren, he'll be perfect. Now, he can be a little goofy too sometimes, but he is absolutely a goon, man. Jorge Masvidal is legit. Seriously. Just ask Leon Edwards. Usman must cut a lot of weight because he doesn't look like a welterweight. Yeah, he's in shape though. He's a very muscular type athlete, and but I can say this about Kamaru Usman: he stays physically, consistent. His conditioning, he doesn't allow it to get out of control. But someone who does is just unbeknownst to me why he allows this to happen is Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa, for him to get that big and then come in and chisel the way he does, why would he torture himself like that? If it doesn't matter to him, cool. But goddamn, like, dude comes in there looking like Adonis. When he fought Uriah Hall, I was like, that dude looked like a bodybuilder. He even had a better physique than Yoel Romero, but better cardio. Do you think the thing Kobe said about Usman being on steroids was true? Kobe said people in the Usman camp was telling him that Usman was on EPO. Well, if he is on EPO, sooner or later he's gonna slip up just like TJ Dillashaw. You can guarantee that, Josh. If by chance, you know, TJ Dillashaw got away with it. TJ Dillashaw got away with it. And you're seeing all these guys with these freaking chiseled physiques. And we used to look at TJ Dillashaw and be like, dang, TJ is shredded to the bone, man. And come to find out he was dirty. And he still got knocked out in the first round by Henry Cejudo, who really don't have a physique, you know, like these guys, but he has the pedigree to be a combat specialist, you know, combat pugilist. So TJ popped. So give or take, it's only a matter of time, you know, that he slips up. And if he is on it, then he'll get touched up. Believe that. They'll find out. USADA will end up getting him. Paulo Costa looked like a heavyweight. I'm being serious. Yeah, the guy's big, man. Seriously. But people, I got to bounce, man. I got to go in here and you know, holler at my son. Hey, Josh, thanks for the information, my brother. Salute to you. Real talk. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. For the info while we was on here. Don Dada, you know, William that dropped through. Sir Ken. All y'all that dropped in today to support World Combat Sports, man, and the you know, boxing blended in with mixed martial arts. The primary live was the UFC 249 card. But once again, thanks everybody who dropped their input. I can tell you right now, if the card goes down, I will be giving live commentary, you know, on the fight card. It's always educational for me to do that. But let's pray and hope that this fight card stick. Seriously. And I know it's tough times, you know what I'm saying? So I'm curious to see what's going to happen. If indeed the Indian reservation is a spot, just wait wait another week and see what's popping so we can get the official word that it's going to be on that particular site. And we can kind of calm down a little bit and be confident the fight's going to take place during this pandemic, you know? And for those of you that's out there going through this global crisis like we all are, that's struggling, only thing I can do, you know, stay, keep your faith. I'm not going to sit up here and say God this, God that. I'm not going to do it. You keep faith in whoever you praise and worship and pray to. And I wish you nothing but the best, man, to pull through this. Unity and everything else. It's a lot of families that's being destroyed by this pandemic. A lot. It's a lot of people that's going through it right now. Not the fact that they don't want to be around each other. It's the fact that you got a family to support and you don't have nothing to support them with. That's the toughest part about this deal. It's absolutely real life. And it provides you a really not a left and right turn. There's nowhere for you to go. And now they're talking about, I think the president said, well, they're suggesting that we don't go to grocery stores. We kind of refrain from going to grocery stores. And I'm like, so how are we supposed to get food again with these kids this day and time, these millennials who really don't care about the food leaving the house? You know what I'm saying? Like, we need some help here. But God damn it, I appreciate everybody who dropped in. Real talk. Very solid. Once again, Josh Talks UFC, man. I totally appreciate your input. And thanks for dropping that nugget, that jewel, man, on the official fight card being made. Real talk. He said, great show, man. No problem. Sir Ken say prayers to all the rest of the world. Everyone stay safe. Yeah, everyone stay safe, man. Truly appreciate y'all for stopping through. And that's what it's all about, man. You can't reach out to everybody, but I hope everybody stays safe. Shout out to Ohio's Run Boxing, man. Appreciate the support during these times there, Marcus. Real talk. And y'all be sure to follow Ohio Run Boxing, man. Shout out to Cincinnati and all them fighters over there, man, in Ohio. I will be back on here. I don't know when, but yeah, we look forward to it. The next week is, you know, to come up with topics every day when nothing's popping. Right now, the UFC is the only thing popping. That's the only thing that's hot. It's on the tracks right now. You know, UFC 249, man, and Dana White loving it. That's what he want it to be. He want UFC 249 to continue to be the talking point, the topic of discussion. And, you know, maybe some more media outlets that don't talk about MMA, they jump on here and talk about some mixed martial arts because, you know, they want to talk about, oh, he ain't no boxing channel. You're right. I'm not a boxing channel. I'm a boxing, you know, mixed martial arts. I'm a World Combat Sports channel. That's right. $1 peace and blessings. Salute, y'all. Y'all take it easy, man. Be safe out there. Real talk and blessings to you, man. Turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports.